So there we were back in May, and I looked at my slideshow and it had pre, intra and post-COVID was the topic of discussion. And I thought that post-COVID was going to run out at about June, July. So we're back. We're still in COVID. We're in stage 4. I don't suggest for a moment it's anything other than incredibly effing inconvenient. It's terribly troublesome for Victoria. The numbers are softening, I would say, by the look of it. And Colin talks to numbers about facts. Let's just hope they keep trending down because they give Victoria some confidence and something to look forward to. So what's happened in my space, in our space, and as you know, we just specialise in selling paddocks. There's one of them behind me. If you can guess where it is, I'll come round and cook dinner for you. But could I have a slide, Luke? So we are in COVID times. We're not in post-COVID. So we're in COVID times, and quickly. So what's happened since I last spoke to you? What's sold? Who has been buying? And what we're about to take to the market in a snapshot. Thanks, Luke. So the two highlights, public highlights, and there are a couple that aren't public at the moment, but the two public highlights, and you all probably saw a big article in the Fin Review today, was a 2,000 lot housing estate in Tarneet that sold after a very, very competitive EOI campaign. That bidding process concluded in July, let's say. Can I tell you there were 10 bidders, and this is for a property when offered has a price point of circa $100 million. There were 10 bids in the first round, 6 in the second round, and then 2 in the third round. The buyers were all local, in inverted commas. They were a mixture of listed property entities, syndicators, and interestingly, some big hitters out of Western Australia and New South Wales. But there was no COVID effect on that property, that land value, that lot value. The next slide, thanks, Luke. At the other end of the scale, an infill 51 lotter, officer, hot little part of town, zoned, permitted, serviceable, ready to go. There were about 20 odd bids in the first round. That price of 140 a lot would be the same as pre-COVID. So no COVID effect on those two offerings. Thanks, Luke. So who was buying? I alluded to it before. At the big end of town, the mantra to us, both in all of the ranges, price points, is that parties would like stuff that is, for want of a use of a word, ready to go, shovel ready. They don't want to be buying stuff that has a long horizon on it. The ASX listed boys, private developers and syndicators. Builders been very, very strong on some of the stuff that you can get onto straight away. But the big end of town wants something like that we just recently sold, where you don't have any planning issues. If you had any issues, it might be some timelines about delivery. Thanks, Luke. So if you haven't maintained your confidence, and don't forget, land it's not, a 12-month cycle. Most of the land and most of the land developments we're involved in, and most of the people involved in it know that it's a 5 to 20 year project. So it takes time, and there are very few opportunities around them. So we've found that scarcity is still driving people's desire to buy land. So don't lose it. I can't tell you when we're going to get out of this, but I can tell you there's still going to be a lot of demand. And on that basis, we're comfortable to say to clients to take property to the market in the spring environment. We want things to warm up a bit. Not only is it COVID, but it's cold here in Victoria. So a couple of things we've got coming up for those of you that would like to talk to us. Thanks, Luke. There's one for you, Colin. Perry, Massenden Ranges, rip a piece of land, lovely location, regional status, gets all the benefits of first home buyer and state government incentive. Thank you. Another regional property, Shepparton's just been through a very, very long-term planning cycle. They've now signed off on their centres for growth in the corridor of Shepparton City and its environments. This is a PSP that sits right up, as you can see, against the city of Shepparton. Shepparton's going really well as a rural community, well established, and that's a nice sweet 240 lots, zoned, PSP in place and serviceable. Thanks, Luke. And then just because you have to, because you've done one for 2,000 lots, one of the owners has come to us, and it usually more so because their time constraints are catching up with them. So we'll be taking to the market shortly, zoned with a permit for 850 plus lots, right up against, you might know, be able to pick the estate next door, which is Fraser's acquisition. So that'll come up as well. Thanks, Luke. So look, it's been a tough road for you all. I think as we go on this journey, you've just got to know that we'll get through it. It certainly isn't affecting my space, and that's the wholesale space of land. And that's because whilst the weather might be better in some states, I think Victoria still has some attributes, but it's going to be a challenging time out of it. To Danny and those of you at the UDIA, important voice. The government needs to hear from the land space, and happy to continue our support. Cole, thanks for your great numbers, and enjoy the rest of the day, everybody.